Gaming. Welcome back to Twins Reviews, guys. My name is Zmax, and in this video we're gonna go over all of the settings in Roller Champions. If you do want some free referral cosmetics for yourself, make sure to head down into the description and use one of the referral friend links, and that way you'll be eligible for referral cosmetics if you're a new player. The Roller Champions settings menu, you can access it from within the game or from the main menu. It has a few different tabs: moves and rules, gameplay, audio, graphics, and controls, and we're gonna go over each of them right now. So the moves and rules tab is not something that you can customize or anything. It's just gonna explain the game to you with little videos and all of the buttons that you need to know for each mechanic. So enable crossplay, I believe, actually comes as a default off, so make sure you turn that on. You'll have better luck at finding some games. You'll be able to play with Xbox and PS4 players if you're on PC, and vice versa. From what I can tell, targeted recommendations is a setting that turns on recommended passes when you are in game. So when someone presses a pass button, there's that little hand gesture that pops up. But with targeted recommendations, what I've noticed is the hand might pop up sometimes randomly, so maybe if you're looking back and the hand is there, you might be able to give off the pass. I haven't had too many times where this has failed me, but if you are noticing that you're passing to someone that you don't want to pass to and the teammate never called for the ball and it's being a big issue, try to turn this one off. Player outlines is something I would recommend to keep on. I believe it's default on, but it pretty much outlines your player with orange or blue depending on your team. It's a pretty thin outline, as you can see on the video here, but honestly I think it adds a little bit of crisp and I kind of like it. Follow camera is a setting that I would recommend you keep off. I believe it comes default off, but what it does is the camera always faces the front direction no matter what. So if you use your right stick to move the camera anywhere and then let go, it will reset the camera back to the center point. So honestly, I feel like that limits how much you can see, so I would honestly just keep that off. The one thing that this might be useful for is spectating. So if you're a spectator in a tournament, for example, do experiment with the follow camera on. It might actually help you. Ball focus activation actually comes as a default setting hold. Now I play it as a toggle because I find it much easier to just press it once and then press it again to deactivate the ball focus, but some people might prefer it on. I don't even use ball cam very much. If you look at like my gameplay videos, for example, the only time I would use ball cam is when I've lost track of all the players and where the ball is, and I'll toggle it on for maybe like 2 to 5 seconds and I'll just toggle it off. So honestly, I would recommend to keep this on toggle. Camera shakes comes as default on, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. Whenever you get tackled, your camera shakes. Now, I have been playing with camera shakes on, but while making this video, I think camera shakes might actually be a little bit better off because they might be a little bit less disorienting. So from now on, I'm gonna be trying to play with camera shakes off, and then maybe I'll update you guys in the comments after a week or so. If you're tired of all the buttons you see in the bottom right, display controls will toggle those off. You can also change the voice of the commentator from English to French. I think the French commentator is pretty hype, but honestly, I just like myself the English commentator. The text setting just changes all of your text to the different types of languages that there are. For example, French, Italian, I think that's German. Subtitle size is something that comes on medium. It is when the commentator announces things, that's the size of the subtitles. I turned mine to small because I just didn't like them taking up so much of my screen, but you can also later toggle them off if you don't like them at all. Interface scale is going to increase or decrease the size of your interface, that is the points and the timing, your kilometers in the bottom right hand corner, then your buttons as well, and all of the name tags when they're displayed when someone scores a goal or when someone is introduced into the game. I prefer to keep it on 100 because I play on an ultra wide screen, so the size of it doesn't bother me, but I've definitely seen some people turn it down because they just don't like how much space it takes up on their screen. Name tag scale is the same. It increases and decreases the size of the name tags while you're in game. Break and tiptoe activation is a hold or a toggle. That's when you use the break button. I just hold it because toggling is going to be very disorienting for braking. Throw activation is something that I would recommend keeping on hold. However, maybe some players might enjoy it on toggle. When you have it on toggle, you actually have to press the shoot button twice before letting go of the ball. Once to charge the shot, and it's going to keep charging it, and then once to let go of the ball. So essentially, if you want to do a quick shot, you have to double tap the shoot button. Next, you can also invert your camera, and then also increase and decrease the sensitivity. Look sensitivity actually comes as default 50, but I've increased mine to 80 because I want to be able to spin my camera around a little bit faster than the default. I've tried it on 100, I think that might be a little bit too fast for me, but I would probably recommend for everyone watching this video to at least try bumping it up a little bit higher than 50, maybe 60 or 70. I think just the way you play might be a little bit faster. The horizontal throw sensitivity comes default 25, and that is the sensitivity when you have your charged shot. I kept mine on default because I like the little bit more precision when I'm shooting. But if you're a trick shotter, you might want to turn this one up. Movement sensitivity is something that a lot of people have been asking, and I tested this probably in every single way possible, and this setting just doesn't do anything. I've tried spinning my character fast, I've tried even in spectate mode, I've tried this, and movement sensitivity literally just does nothing. If you do know what movement sensitivity does and I'm just oblivious to it, do leave it in the comments down below, but from all of my experimenting, this setting does nothing at the moment. Vibration intensity increases the vibration on your controller, and the move dead zone and log dead zone is going to be the dead zone of your joystick right here. So when you increase it, you usually have to, I'm gonna show this, you usually have to push your joystick further for that action to happen. Sometimes people use this if they have joystick drift. So if you're having problems with your controllers where you're constantly just edging, looking right, play around with the dead zone. And then there's also a keyboard and mouse sensitivity option. All things audio are right here. I turned my master volume to 5 because I think it's a little bit too loud. And you also can control individual things like crowd volume, music volume, announcer volume, and sound effects volume. I kept my music at 0 right now because I don't want the music to be recorded on my videos, so I just have it on 0. Then you can also open and close the voice chat. If you want to hear people in game, then you should leave that open. If you don't want to hear them in game, then just close it. And you can also play around with the volume as well. Crossplay voice chat is something that I just like to keep on because if anything, I can just turn it off, but at the moment, no problems with that. Microphone volume is something that's only gonna be ungrayed out if I hit the unmute microphone. I guess it's mute microphone, but it'll be off. 3D audio is something I recommend you keep on because you're gonna wanna sometimes hear who's behind you, and you can do that with 3D audio, so definitely keep that on. Streamer mode pretty much does the same thing with the music that I talked about last time. I just turned off the music instead. Subtitles is the subtitles that the announcer has. You can turn them off if you'd like. Sound plays while in the foreground. If you happen to tab out of your game, the sound will keep playing if this is on, and you can also reset all your audio settings. Moving on to the graphics setting, this is probably the second most important tab here, and here's where all your video settings are. Now this might look a little bit different if you're on Xbox or on PS4. I'm on PC, so this is how it looks like for me. There's 3 different display modes. There's going to be windowed, borderless, and full screen. Currently, I have it set to borderless, but that's because every time I leave the game, it actually just resets it to borderless. I would recommend playing on either full screen or borderless to minimize the lag. I would not recommend windowed. And you can also change your screen resolution. I would just keep that at the max it can be. I don't know why the full screen mode keeps constantly resetting, but I hope that's something that they fix in the future because full screen tends to be a better experience in most games. It doesn't lag as much. Borderless is pretty good as well, but I tend to usually play on full screen because I find it to be a little bit better. But if you're having any frame issues where this is different because you can have frame issues from within the game's servers, but if you're noticing that your computer is having frame issues, not from the servers, which is going to be hard to tell. But if your computer is struggling, try to play around with the display mode, maybe go to borderless instead of full screen. The refresh rate is going to be something that's only going to be available if you're in full screen, and that's just the FPS of your game. VSync is something that I would recommend you keep off. This is a control that you usually turn on when your computer is struggling with frames. But again, it's important to know that this game already has frame issues, but it's not coming from within your computer, it's coming from within the servers. And if you're playing, for example, NA and EU, it's either going to be an NA server or an EU server, and most likely 9.5 times out of 10 is going to be an EU server because I think there's just more of them. You're going to get frame issues, and that's not because of your computer. I have a really good computer and I still get frame issues. I honestly think that you should turn it off because it rarely helps in any scenario. It just adds input delay. Psychos told me about that, which I didn't know. Thank you. Bring to foreground when match is found is something that a lot of people really like. Pretty much if you're tabbed out and the game starts, it'll just tab you back in. I just keep it off because I just want to be in control of where my tabs are. And the next setting is something that lets you know when the match is found. The quality setting is you can either go low or high. For the purposes right now, I've turned it to low because this game, I've noticed, is not very well optimized yet. So I'm just gonna play on low. It pretty much, you know, just adds less detail or more detail if you're on high. I'm just playing on low at the moment, even though my computer is better, because honestly, with the way this game is optimized currently, I would play on all the lowest settings. The next mode is actually a smoothing mode. I would just keep everything on none because it just adds potential lag or something like that. And right now I exited the settings menu, and even though I'm in full screen, for some reason the refresh rate doesn't show up. As you can see, I'm gonna click it back to borderless and back to this. And for some reason the refresh rate goes back to 59. I don't know what's going on. They need to fix that. And finally, the last tab is controls. Now, surprisingly, I have not even played around with this. I play on default controls because to me, they're the most intuitive. But if you want to change around your buttons, this is the place you would do it. This is my default control setup. It's just default, never changed anything, never need to, because I think everything is just very intuitive and I do like it the way it is. And that about does it for these settings. Honestly, not a lot of things that you need to tweak, but there's a few things that are pretty important, like turning off the VSync and maybe tweaking around with the display options to make your game flow a little bit better. But honestly, there isn't too many settings that I would even recommend to play around with. It's good that they have some of the options that they do. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and do comment if I got anything wrong. I don't think I did, but there is always a potential for it, so make sure you go down in the comments and let me know. And also do subscribe if you're hyped for more Roller Champions content. With that being said, I'm gonna go work on more Roller Champions videos. And yeah, bye.